Okay, very good. Good morning, everyone. Let's do that all over again. I was on mute. Sorry about that. So, welcome to the show. Welcome to Pursuing Profit with Principles. So happy to have you with us this morning. And if this is your first time, hope you get a lot out of it and that you'll come back and that you'll also share it with your friends and invite them to join us as well. This morning, I want to talk about entrepreneurs and the impact that they have on our economy, on our lives in general, the role that they play, and what causes them to fail so frequently. And we're going to talk about some statistics around that in a bit. But I want to share a little bit with you first. They are a leading driver of economic development in our country, in the world, in fact. But we're going to talk primarily about the numbers in the US. So, who and what is an entrepreneur? I mean, if you've never heard of an entrepreneur, which I can imagine you being alive in 2021 and over the age of 18 and not having heard of an entrepreneur, but Harvard Business Review said a couple of things that I think are important about it. They said entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond resources controlled. And if you think about that for a moment, many of us go into entrepreneurship without those resources that a larger business wouldn't step into business without, to put it one way. They are someone who sees an opportunity to create value and they're willing to take a risk to capitalize on that opportunity. Some elements of this opportunity are spotting the opportunity to start with, risk taking, and value creation. Again, that's according to Harvard Business Review. But some things I'd like to share with you before we dive into the 10 reasons that most businesses, small businesses, fail. Before we do that, I want to share a little bit more of statistical data with you because I think it's really important to our overall conversation. So, small businesses, which are businesses that have under 500 employees, 500 or fewer employees, are classified as a small business. A micro business is that employer that has 1 to 9 employees, so under 10 employees. So we have micro businesses and small businesses typically in this entrepreneurship range. And they truly are the backbone of the economy. Micro businesses represent 95% of the 28 million businesses that are tracked by the US Census. They employ 31 million people. They represent 17% of our GDP, and they generate 2.4 trillion in receipts. Now that's a big impact on our economy, wouldn't you agree? However, their failure rate is over 50% within the first 4 years. And actually, as it goes on, those numbers can get up to 95%. Studies show that, however, that when they get the kind of support, and some of that we're going to be talking about here, and some we're going to talk about in some future episodes, but when they get the kind of support that they need, they can have an 80% success rate instead of a 95% failure rate. So just think about in your own community or in your own life, if we're able to help more small businesses succeed than fail, what does that do? If it's your business, what does that do for you and your family? What does it do for your community? What does it do for your employees? And you begin to see this extreme value that it is brought about by entrepreneurs. So what's their role in the community? Well, as we just showed, they drive job creation, right? 31 million jobs. They drive job creation. They enhance income within the community. They strengthen purchasing power. If families have funds coming in, they now have more purchasing power. They are able to lower costs on things. They are the dreamers. They are the innovators. Most innovation that comes about in our society comes through these small entrepreneurial firms. And they are the wealth creators in the US economy. So all of that said, and we said that 50% fail in the first 4 years, 95% fail altogether. What do they need to do, or what do they need to succeed? So we've identified 3 or 4 things that they need. They need business coaching, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but we don't know what we don't know about running a business if we've never been in business, right? They need training, they need connections to customers, and they need small amounts of capital. So again, when they do get those resources that they need, statistics show they have an 80% success rate, and they create 2 jobs on average over 3 to 5 years. So again, more job creation. So if these companies are so vital to our economy, why do they have such a high failure rate? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in the 10 deadly mistakes that startups make. So let's dive in. And this first one we're going to spend probably the most amount of time on. And this is that we don't prep our life for entrepreneurship. Starting a business, especially one that's probably undercapitalized. Again, you're running on untried ideas oftentimes. These things can take a real toll on your life. And so success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So let's just talk a little bit about that. There are successful entrepreneurs whose businesses thrive even when they're under intense pressure. They put their nose to the grindstone and they do what they have to do to sustain their business. Are there days when they crumble or want to crumble? You bet there are. But when you have a solid business, you can afford to have a few of those days so that you're still hitting your goal. And your goal includes that there are going to be some days that you're going to be off track, as it were. The key is to getting yourself back on track fast. Be one of the rare people who constantly feel fulfilled. You probably don't know many people who can say that. But can you say that? Can you be that person? You just have to master the art of balancing your life with your work. And it is an art, and it is a science. And you don't have to be perfect every day. You can always manage to get caught up if you falter, and you can continually churn out good stuff for your niche audience so that your income stream stays steady and you're able to be a great parent or spouse and enjoy your life as well as building that profitable business. Every day you crank out work, you spend time with your kids, you have some relaxation. Some days the percentage will vary for each element, but it can all be in there. And it's your mindset that enables you to kick your own tushy whenever you need to. And there are days you will need to kick yourself in the tushy, okay? One of the things about being an entrepreneur is it takes guts. Being an entrepreneur and starting up your own business is not easy. Anyone can be in this business of entrepreneurship, but to succeed, you have to be willing to put yourself out there like you've never done before in your life. And that takes guts. You have to balance your mindset. You have to play good cop, bad cop with yourself. Give yourself a dash of forgiveness when you mess up and a pinch of a swift kick in that tushy again so that you don't rest on your laurels for too long. You have to stop comparing yourself to others. You have to put blinders on and just focus on you and your journey, because no two people are going to have the same business models, the same availability of time, and the same obstacles. You can expect to have some down days. You're not a superhero, although you do have superhero powers. You're not an invincible superhero. Let's put it that way. It isn't all rainbows and unicorns. There are days when you're going to be frustrated. You're going to feel stupid. You're going to be envious of others. You're going to be angry with yourself or with someone else. But during those times, that's when you have to get tough on yourself. You have to take the steps necessary. So, as I mentioned, not prepping our life for starting a business is the number one mistake. There's a lot more that we could go into on that, but let's move on because we've got 9 other areas to cover. So the next one is confusing a product with a business. Your product is not your business. Your business needs a strategic plan. It needs to have elements to it beyond that product. You need to think about all the ways that you serve your client. You need there, you know, this one I could go on and on about forever. So I'm going to keep it really short because our time is short today, but we'll come back to this on other shows. So make sure that you have potential revenue streams beyond the initial purchase of a product that your client makes. So you need upsells, you need downsells, you need memberships, or you need some kind of a continuity program, something that keeps them coming back to you. Making a one-time sale is a hard business to build. If your customer only buys one thing from you, then every time you make that sale, you have to go find a new customer. If your customer buys from you multiple times, now you're able to generate a lot of revenue from your existing customers, and you don't have to go find a new customer for every new sale. It is much more expensive to go find a new customer for every sale than it is to get your existing customers to buy from you more often. So think about, what does your business look like in 3 to 5 years? What other products and services can you add on? How can you more effectively service that client? When we don't think about those things and put them into our overall strategy, that contributes to our not succeeding. The third element of reasons that businesses, these small businesses, don't succeed is that they don't invest in expertise. I mentioned before that we don't know what we don't know about running a business. Now, you may have worked for someone before, and because you saw the daily things that your boss did, you thought you understood what it took to run a business. You knew that you had a great skill set, so you said, hey, I'm tired of somebody else making all the money off of what I do. I'm going to go out and start my own business. So you went out and started your own business, but then you discovered there's a whole lot I don't know about this. And when we don't know what we don't know about something, it's kind of hard to ask the right questions or even who to know to ask them of. So hiring a coach is one of the best things an entrepreneur can do because they fill in the gaps. They've been there. And you want to make sure that the coaches that you hire have the experience to take you where you want to go. So for example, I'm a business coach, and I grew a business to almost $5 million in revenue, annual revenue. We had 6 offices, we had 25 employees, we had it was a staffing firm. We had 200 employees placed with other clients at 3 divisions. I have a successful track record as a coach. That's what you want to look for in your coaches. Make sure they know what they're talking about. Make sure that they have some experience behind it. The last thing you want to do is hire a coach who's never had any business experience. So invest in expertise is one of the things that we need to do. Another thing that can cause the next area that can be one of the big mistakes that we make is ignoring the data, not actually crunching the numbers ourselves to see if our business can succeed as a business. And that can be a huge mistake. So you need to get some help on that if you need to, but you need to look at all of the numbers. And then one of the things that we don't do is use that data to create our key performance indicators or our milestones to show how our idea or our business is progressing. And then not testing and measuring to see what really works. In marketing, one of the key phrases that I use is test and measure. Test and measure everything to know what works and what doesn't. Make small changes along the way and test those small changes to make sure that they work. And then there's scaling too quickly. I think a lot of small businesses can suffer from this. And what happens is that we spend cash in the wrong areas, and we run out of cash before we hit any real business milestones. So there are peaks and valleys of growing too fast, and scaling a company is tough. If you grow too fast, you run the risk of outpacing your funding and your ability to turn a profit. You grow too slow and investors can jump ship, and even worse, you won't gain enough revenue to support the business moving forward. So there is, again, an art and a science to scaling, and we tend to scale too quickly. The next one is clinging to the wrong idea. Um, there was a quote, don't cling to a mistake just because you spent a long time making it. You don't want to be so much in love with your idea that you aren't watching the indicators and tweaking or switching tracks as needed. So again, this comes back to looking at our KPIs, to testing and measuring. They're all kind of intertwined, right? Sometimes we have such a great idea in our mind and we think, this is perfect. And we run with it. And it may be perfect for our market, but we don't express it in such a way that they recognize its perfectness. We don't speak their language, and we tend to speak in our own language what excites us, when we really need to learn about what excites our audience and speak in their language. So there are a lot of ways that we can cling to the wrong idea. Again, that's another subject we can cover another time. Failure to identify your ideal client. This is huge, folks. Identifying the right product and identifying the right market to market that product to are extremely important. Your ideal client is the person that is going to resonate with your passion around what you're doing and be attracted to you because of your passion around that. And they're going to want to know more and more of what you know. They're going to want to be involved with you. And there are a lot of parameters about determining who your ideal client is and how to speak to them. And this is an area that many entrepreneurs do not spend enough time in. And as a result, they don't succeed. So identifying that ideal client, extremely important. How many of us have what is the term I want for when we just can't let go of control of things, right? We have to be the one that is in control of everything, and we don't delegate. So learning how to delegate and what to delegate, giving up control of the areas of certain areas of your business with accountability. I'm not saying hand something over to someone and never check on it again. It's just like when we have expectations of someone, we need to inspect what they've done to make sure that those expectations were understood and that things are being carried out properly. You can delegate to other people. You delegate authority for them to do what they need to do, but you always come back and inspect. But you have to be willing to give up that control of everything and give up the idea if you want something done, do it yourself. That is false and is a surefire way to get to failure in a business. You can't do it all yourself. You have to have processes in place, procedures in place, the ability to hand things off to someone else. Okay. So let's see, we are almost to the end of our list. So this one I want to spend a little more time on. And this one is thinking that money solves everything. Money isn't everything, first of all. And your sales are going to take longer than you expect them to, quite often. And we are frequently too aggressive in our estimation of timelines of how long it's going to take to achieve something. Been there, done that time and time again. Okay. Some examples of money can't buy everything. And then we're going to dive a little deeper into this. It can buy a bed, but it can't buy sleep. It can buy a clock, but not time. It can buy a book, but not knowledge. It can buy you a position, but not respect. It can buy you medicine, but not health. And it can buy you blood, but not life. So let's talk about money. Why should money be important? And so what is driving you? And hopefully it's not the money that's driving you. You could be thinking, well, I'm sick of feeling like a failure because I can't get my kids a much of a Christmas gift every year. Or I don't want my kids to grow up with a struggling parent who never had time to play with them because she was always trying to make ends meet. But see, that's not just about money, that's about the feelings behind a lack of money. And that's something that can drive you. If you need to, type out a reminder of what that is and put it on your computer to monitor. Like, this is for my kids, is why I'm doing this. Money is a yardstick, it's a ruler, it's a measurement of how successful you are. Money itself is not the success. It's when it's a simple reminder, this little note that you can put on your computer is a simple reminder every time that you go to work to put yourself out there and do the things that you're nervous about, like video blogging to make a connection with your audience, when you risk being ridiculed by internet trolls and getting your feelings hurt. You're doing it for a reason. You're doing it for your kids. You're doing it for your family. You're doing it because you want to go on a vacation, whatever your reason is. And when you feel overwhelmed, like you're going to cry because people do that sometimes when life's not going according to your plan, go ahead and cry. And then blow your nose and go back to work anyway. Wipe your eyes, blow your nose, get going because you know why you're doing this. It's not enough to sit there and say, I want more money. What is it you want to do with that money? How is it a yardstick for you? Is it a vacation? Great. Then get to the core of those vacation feelings. Why do you need a vacation? To get away from someone? To get rid of the stress that someone else is causing? To reward yourself because you're doing an awesome job? What's your reason? Dig down. Until you dig down, you won't have enough to push you through the obstacles that you're going to encounter while you're creating that work-life balance and while you're building this business. Your why you're doing this, is one of the greatest tools at your disposal for being successful in your business. Okay? So get in touch with those emotions that are driving your physical, tangible needs. Not money, but why the money. Not time, but time to do what and why. Print it out, stick it on your monitor, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, because you will forget. You'll get frustrated with something, and when that happens, you won't be able to think clearly. You'll need that reminder because it will anchor you when you're having an all-out hissy fit, meltdown, and labeling yourself a failure. So speaking of failure, that's our last, number 10 is failure. Fearing failure. Failure is only a temporary change in direction to set you straight for your next success. Let me repeat that. Failure is only a temporary change in direction to set you straight for your next success. We often fear failure. In fact, there's an acronym for fear. Fear as an acronym is false evidence appearing real. We fear failure. We don't see the hiccups as learning opportunities or as experiments. What was it Thomas Edison said? Now I have 1,000 ways that I know that the incandescent bulb doesn't work. He was looking for the one way that it would work. Keep looking for the one way that it works for you. All right, so let's just recap very quickly our 10 areas of deadly mistakes for startups. Not prepping your life. Startups take a toll. Confusing a product with a business. You have to have more than a product in place. Not paying for expertise. That coaching help is imperative. They know things you don't know and that it's going to take you years to discover. Learn from their mistakes. Learn from their knowledge. Ignoring the data. It can be huge. Figuring out what your key performance indicators are to monitor the success of your business and then monitor it. Scaling too quickly or too slowly. Clinging to wrong ideas. Don't be so much in love with your idea that you aren't willing to tweak it or even swap it out if necessary. Failure to identify your ideal client, failure to delegate to your team, whether that's internal or external, thinking money solves everything. It doesn't. You need that why, that big why behind that. And then fearing failure. Those are our 10 deadly mistakes that startups make. Remember, I told you at the beginning that up to 95% of small businesses fail. With the proper resources and doing the proper things, that we can turn that around to 80% of businesses succeeding. That's my goal in life, folks, is to change this, to see these small businesses succeed and not fail. I know it's possible. I've seen the results. I've studied the statistics, studied the research. I know what small businesses need to be successful. And I'm in your corner because I know the value that you bring to the community when you get the resources that you need. You increase employment across the board. You remember I said that within two new employees over a 3 to 5 year period, I think. How many more people need to be employed? We've got 28 million small businesses or businesses that are being tracked by the government. 98.7% of those, I believe, are small and micro businesses. 95% of that number are micro businesses, those businesses with under 10 employees. You increase the volume of dollars into whatever region you are serving in where you live. You grow your community. You increase leadership. As you grow as a business owner, your leadership abilities grow, and you can step up and assume leadership roles in your community. You can now be someone who helps shape the future of your communities. Isn't that exciting? And help shape the future of the nation as well as your local communities. You increase the velocity of money that's circulating within the region. And then let's look at families, what you do for families. There are, as you can imagine, with the large percentage of businesses that fail currently, it takes a devastating toll on families. Divorces happen, marriages fall apart, children learn not great examples moving forward. It becomes a generational impact. People commit suicide. One of my business associates, when he was younger, his older brother committed suicide because his business failed. My goal is to stop that, to stop these businesses from failing, to create more affluence in our society, family by family, business by business, as we create profitable businesses in our nation and in the world. So I'm really grateful that you joined me today for this discussion on why businesses fail and what we can do about it. I would love to hear your comments to see what your thoughts are on how we turn this around, how we help these small businesses. And so wherever you find this broadcast, be sure and put your comments in about the impact that has happened in your life via a business that was either failing or did fail or was successful or is being successful. So that's all I have for today, folks. It's been a pleasure having you here on the show again. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday. One quick thought, in October, the week of October the 18th, is Chamber of Commerce Week. And so it's my goal to bring on some chamber executives over the next few weeks to talk about how chambers support small businesses. And hopefully you'll be able to join us for that and see how you can help with that as well. So Have an amazing day, and I will see you next week.
Rodney C. Burris is an international speaker, youth advocate, professional development coach, and published author who grew up in the inner cities of Baltimore and Jacksonville in the United States. In the USA, Rodney is regarded as one of the nation's top leaders in unlocking human potential and inspiring organizations to greatness. He's delivered speeches all over the globe and is poised to disrupt the status quo in leadership and organizational development. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to Rodney C. Burris.
When I was a little boy, I had this father figure in my life. My dad. My dad had periods where he was in my life, but he'd be out my life. And then, sometimes we lived with them, sometimes we didn't live with them. And so here and there, I had these mentors, these big brothers, these givers that would randomly, come into my life circle, and I would get different things from them. So none of them were there like all the time, like consistently, but I was able to compile a father figure, a positive male model, right? Kind of pulling it together, it was as healthy and as positive as I could, being a kid, being a child, being 12, trying to make it work, right? One of those guys gave me a love for words. And what I mean by that is that he had this way of breaking down words in a way that made the most sense. It was so simple, but it was quirky, right? Let me give you an example. The one that stands out for me the most that I always think about was his word for the way he explained the word compassion. And he said, compassion is a very unique word. So my middle name is Christopher. You see Rodney C. Burris, Rodney C. Burris. The C stands for Christopher. He calls me Chris. He's like, Chris, compassion is a really unique word. I was like, why do you say that? He said, because compassion actually has two root words. And I'm like, two root words? I ain't never heard about something having two root words. Like, The whole idea behind a root word is that it gets down to the point, like the singular thing that's in it, right? He said, compassion has 2 root words. I said, what you mean? He said, first of all, in there is passion. It's like, that's emotion, that's feelings. You can't have compassion for somebody in their situation if you can't feel where they're coming from. He said, the second thing is the word compass. It's like, you mean compass? He said, no, compass. He said, the word compass means to go around something. When you compass something, you're going all the way around it. He said, in order to have real compassion for anybody in their situation, you got to be able to feel where they're coming from all of the angles that they experience it, so you can make that connection. Blew my mind, right? He used to groom me with these kind of conversations because he was like, you're going to be in a position to connect with a lot of people, and it's some things that you just got to know. That was one of 100 different lessons that he and I would have, just kind of randomly, riding in the car sometimes, going to eat somewhere sometimes. You know, he would cut my hair over the years. And right now I kind of cut my own hair these days. Hopefully it looks okay. But he would give me these lessons, guys, and they just always kind of took me aback in how simple they were, how much sense they made, and how kind of like quirky, kind of off angle it was, right? It wasn't the traditional way of looking at things. As I've gotten older, one of the things that I found myself engaging with a lot of people around was this idea of communication, and what does it really mean, and how do we really do it well, right? How do you really effectively communicate? You know, communication is the thing that breaks up most relationships. And, you know, if you don't have anything else, you got to have good communication. And you're in the military, you know, you're dealing with those agencies with the badges and the shields, right? And it's like, communication is key. You know, you got to keep the lines of communication up. Well, what the heck does it mean? Because we think we know, right? Well, you got to talk. You got to tell them what you mean. And, you know, you got to, is that communication? Sometimes, you know, I've been, especially in academic circles, sometimes they use the most colorful, flowery language. And I don't mean colorful as in it's like pizzazz. I mean colorful, flowery in the fact that it's these big 13-letter words that nobody else really gets. So you're really conveying your intelligence, but is that communicating? So I want to take a page out of my, I call them my pops. I want to take a page out of my pop's book. And I want to look at the word communication maybe the way he would. You ready? All right, let's do it. Handy dandy chalk. You guys remember Blue's Clues back in the day? Handy dandy notebook, right? Okay, now, I'm gonna write this on the board. Hopefully you can read my chicken scratch. You ready? C. Oh my goodness, it's backwards. OMMUNICATION. Now I'm looking at this word and I'm hoping that it's not backwards on the screen for you guys. Give me 1 second, let me check. Okay, I just clicked some buttons around and I can't tell whether or not if the video is backwards for you guys. I can't tell. So let me just see here. Based on what I think you should be able to see, this spells the word communication. Okay, now, communication has a root word, all words do, right? There's a core word that makes up the word communication. That word is common, right? The word common or commune, which means to share together, to hold the same thing alike with each other, right? It's common, communal, right? A community. But we can break the word common down even further. If we break the word common down even further, the first part of that CO, means with or together, right? So the co, think about it like this. Years ago, schools were single gender, right? It was an all boys school. A lot of times, years and years, hundreds of years ago, they didn't even let girls go to school, right? When they finally started not only allowing girls to gain education, but when they started letting boys and girls go to school together, those students were known as co-eds, together with, right? If I'm employed and you also work at my job, you and I are co-workers, right? If I'm working on a project and you help me work on this project, you and I are co-operating, okay? So the co is with or together, all right? Now, I'm gonna jump all the way back over here. This part of the word, Asian always refers to a process of, right? So a process of inspiring people is inspirational motivation, getting them motivated, getting them going by some process. The process of movement is transportation. The Asian part is the process of. Well, there's one more part of this word. It is the core part of the word. See this? U-N-I. What does uni mean? Well, let's think about some words that got uni in it, right? University, unity, unitard, which is what I'm wearing underneath. What else? Uniform, union. What is unicycle? How many wheels do a unicycle have? So if we look at the word, it tells us in and of itself that communication only happens when at the end of some process, you and I are together around one idea, one message, one thought. Communication only happens when you and I understand the same idea. Use big words to do it. Use small words to do it. Your process could be texting. Your process could be a song. Decades ago, there's a group called the Osley Brothers. And they had a song called Living for the Love of You, right? And in that song, they said, I might as well sign my name to a card because the card probably could say it better than I can. He's just trying to tell his lady, I'm living for your love. And all that I'm giving is for your love. And he tried to say it with verse after verse after verse. And at the end of the song, I might as well just sign my name to a card to say it better, because it seems I've done just about all that I can do, right? So your process might be an endearing card. If we was little kids, it might be, do you like me? Check yes or no, right? Of course, we want them to say yes. That's the whole point of us sending the card. right? That's the one idea that we want, is for them to agree to be together with us in this idea that you like me and I like you. But our process to get there is not just walking up to her and asking her. That's too much, right? Get rejected like that. We got to send a card. So whatever the process is, if you and I share our understanding around one idea, we've communicated. If we don't share our understanding, if we're not together in our understanding of one idea, then we didn't communicate. And I keep stressing the word understanding. Communication happens when we understand the same idea, because you can understand the same idea and not agree on it. Communication doesn't necessarily mean we agree. It just means that we effectively understand this one thing. Does that make sense? So a lot of times we feel like we didn't effectively communicate because you don't see it how I see it. You don't agree with me. They don't have to. They don't have to. They don't got to see it how we see it in order for communication to effectively happen. They just need to be on the same page in their understanding of the one thing. There's a couple more things I want to point out about this, that this word tells us, right? If we're trying to effectively communicate, it's probably helpful that we don't try to make 3, 4, 5 points to win the argument. Oh yeah? Well, that's fine, because I never liked your mama or you anyway, and your feet stink. And I never liked how you cooked lasagna. Well, what's the one thing that you're trying to get across in this moment that you want me to understand? That you hate my guts? Because that, more than anything, is what's coming through right now, based on your process. No, I just really wanted us to spend more time on Thursdays because, Thursday's a special day and you're always busy. And I thought that's what we said we were going to do. Well, let's live in that idea and let whatever process we use funnel us towards a singular point. Because if I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the taxes and the bills and your best friend who's always over here who I don't like, and I really don't like how messy you always have the car, and also I think your feet stink. That's a lot of points you're trying to make. I don't think it's clear to me that you're trying to tell me that you just want to spend more time with me on Thursday. That's getting lost in the sauce for me. We're having a miscommunication. I'm understanding that you just want to have an argument, that you just want to break up, that you just need some time off. And what you really mean is Thursdays. Can we do more of them? We can't control how they think, but we can control our portion in the process. And controlling our portion in the process can help us get together around a singular idea. The last thing I want to bring up about this, if we look at this word and we think about it, one of the best ways to make sure the one thing that I'm trying to get across sinks in, one of the best ways that I can help you understand, help us share understanding around this one thing, is if I do this. If I say it and I say it and I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it, the more times I repeat this one idea, the better my chances are in helping make sure that you understand the one thing I'm trying to convey. Because I'm bringing it up all the time. This is my main idea, right? If this was school, what's your main idea? That's the one thing that you're trying to, everything else is just supporting material. Isn't that what they teach us? That's supporting material. But there's one thing above all that I hope you get out of this. It's the main idea. If this was a song, the main idea that gets repeated over and over again is in the chorus. Some people call it the hook, because I gotcha. I'm gonna make it catchy enough. I'm gonna make it sing-songy enough that it's the thing that sticks. It's the refrain. It's the thing that we go back to. Why do they call it a refrain? Re again, re again, re again. It's a refrain. I'm coming back to it. It's the chorus. It's the hook that I'm trying to use to catch to make sure that you understand my main idea. So if we reapproach communication around the auspices, that I'm really just trying to make sure that you understand with me. You understand like how I understand. This one thing, we can get better at how we approach our process. Right? But it all starts with understanding this. This is the last thing. This means that we have to know what's the one thing that we're trying to get across. If we got a bunch of swirling feelings and swirling emotions that tie into the next thing, that tie into the next thing, that tie into the next thing, and that's bad because of this and that, and that's why, and it feels like that, and everything is the problem. I heard a wise man say this. He said, if everything is wrong with you, then that means you don't really know what's wrong with you. Ooh. If somebody asks you how you feel, and you got 30 emotions around multiple different things, you haven't done the self-work, the homework, our school thing, right? You haven't done the homework to figure out how you really feel. If someone were to ask you, what do you want to eat? You hungry? Yeah, I can eat. I'm hungry, yeah. What do you want to eat? Where you want to go? I don't know. Are you hungry? Did you say you was hungry? Yeah, I'm starving. I haven't eaten it's been forever. What do you want to eat then? I don't know. I mean, you want shrimp? No, I don't want to get cheesesteaks? I don't need cheesesteaks. Want to go get some pastas, some lasagna or something? Because I don't want to just get some tacos. Because okay. We could do this all day. Clearly, you don't want any of that stuff. What do you want? If your answer is still, I don't know, you shouldn't be putting that on me to figure out. That's called self-work. We have to know the one thing that we want understood about us. If we're trying to create a togetherness. See, this part right here, a fancy word for this is relationship. With my cousin, with my mama, with my sister, with my BFF, with my bestie, with my co-worker, with my manager, with my boo thing, my romantic love, my spouse, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, fiance. If I really want to sustain a sense of togetherness with them, then I need to do the self-work to know what's the one thing in this moment that I'm trying to get across. the foundation of communication. It is the one thing in the middle of it all, literally. Right? So, communication, in a nutshell, is when we share understanding about one thing at the end of some process. And looking at this word like this was something that I learned when I was a boy by a father figure in my life. So shout out to him, much love to him, to all of the people that's been givers, helpers, lovers, mentors, significant in your life. And I mean love in any sense of that word, right? For me, it was a fatherly type love. For you, it might be the love of like a best friend. For some of us, it might be the love of a romantic, whatever. Whoever has been placed in your life to help you see things that you otherwise may have missed, those are important people. Those are special people. And one of them in my life gave me the idea that I can look at words and the word itself will tell me what it means. And with that, I share with